this practice, you'll need just a blanket folded, a stretchy band if you have one. You could use a yoga belt if you don't have a stretchy band, and a couple of blocks. So we're just going to begin lying down on your back in constructive rest position. So just lying down with your feet flat, knees bent, and you can take your blanket for a moment if you like, and just place it behind you for some head support, and you'll come to lie onto your back. And you can have your arms on the floor with the palms facing the sky if you like, or you can have your hands on the lower ribs, palms facing down. Feet are just resting on the mat. And just taking a couple of moments here to settle into your breath, into your body. Feel the points of the feet that touch the earth. Feel the sacrum and the back of the torso resting on the floor. And feeling the shoulders, the back of the head, the arms, supported by the earth. And then, I'd like you to take your blanket. If you're using the under your head, take it away from under your head for a moment. And we're going to fold your blanket up till it's more of a thicker shape. So this is a rectangle shape here, and I folded it quite narrow. And we're just going to place the folded blanket here, lift my pelvis up, and slide the blanket folded underneath the back of my pelvis. So this will elevate the pelvis a little bit. Now, you don't want to have the blanket above the waistband in this position. We don't want it at the lower back region for this particular movement. We want to slide it down so it's closer to your tailbone, so that you can feel comfortable when you're resting here, and your pelvis is a little bit higher, so there may be some more space between your middle and lower back and the floor. And just coming back into that moment of pause. Arms can be on the floor or hands resting on the lower ribs. And just tuning into the back of your rib cage now. So just above where the blanket roll or blanket fold is placed. And just a little bit below the shoulder blades, the bottom of the shoulder blades. And I'll invite you here just to breathe into this back body, as it's called. Feel as if the ribs can soften with gravity towards the floor. You're not trying to push the ribs back into the floor. You're just letting breath and gravity help soften the back ribs and release them gently, slowly over time. And then we'll keep the left foot on the floor where it is, maintaining that nice relaxed rib cage. And we're going to slowly slide the right foot heel out along the floor. Maybe the leg comes straight, maybe not quite all the way. And we're just going to be here for a few breaths now. This is a gentle psoas release. So the psoas muscle connects in two places, well, a lot of places actually, but its main attachments are at the back ribs. All the way spans through the pelvis to the inner thigh on this right leg. So the right side lower rib cage in the back, and it hugs all of the lumbar vertebrae. And then it attaches through and crosses over the front of the pelvis all the way to the right inner thigh. So it spans from the upper body to the lower body. And we're not trying to stretch the psoas, we're just creating a little release through this long, strong muscle. So take one more easy breath here, feeling the back of the ribs relax. And then slowly slide the right heel and right foot back to the floor. Taking another exhalation, soft breathing. Slowly begin to slide the left heel along the floor till the leg gets almost straight, just as much as feels comfortable, and your pelvis didn't rock or tilt from side to side. And this primarily will release or lengthen or just kind of settle out the left side of the psoas. So again, it connects from the back ribs, hugs all the lumbar vertebrae, flows through the pelvis and down the inner thigh of the left leg. So just allow for easy breathing. There's nothing to try and stretch or pull. Just letting gravity and breath soften and settle. And then we'll slowly slide the left heel and foot back to the floor. Noticing what you feel here now. As we pause for one or two more breaths with the blanket under the pelvis. And then we'll slowly lift the pelvis up, take your blanket aside, and lowering the hips down. And just observing now what you might feel through your torso, through your shoulders, down to your hips. Lovely. Now, we're going to take the right leg up towards the sky and just rotate the leg bone in the hip socket. So even though your foot and your knee are moving side to side, try to feel this motion originate at the top of the right leg. And then cross the right ankle over the left knee here into a figure four. And then take your arms out to the side or arms along the floor and start to rotate your legs to the left. So we're doing a little lower body twist. And then coming back up to center. And take the legs to the right. Now what you might like to do here as you bring your legs back up is bring your fingertips into the crease of your hips here. And remember how the hip flexors don't need to move or be active rather when we are rotating the pelvis. So as you take your legs to the left again, just only go as far as your hip flexors stay quiet. They don't jump into your fingers. And then come back up to center and take the legs to the right, only as far as your hip flexors stay quiet. And let's go one more time to either side here. Left leg, legs go to the left, and then roll through center. Hip flexors are quiet the whole way, and then legs flow to the right. And then legs come back into the center. Uncross the right leg, place the foot down on the floor. Take the left leg up in the air, keep a little bend in the knee, and rotate your thigh bone in the pelvis. Move in a range where the pelvis stays quiet. And cross the left ankle above the right knee. You can bring your fingers into the hip flexor region again. And now let's take the legs slowly towards the right. Left side of the pelvis may lift. Only go as far as your hip flexors stay relaxed and supple. Draw the legs back up to center and over to the left. The legs go, so the right side of the pelvis may lift a little. And then back through center, and we'll go legs to the right again. Only as far as the hip flexors stay quiet. And back through center and over to the second side again, left side, the legs go. Checking in with your soft hip flexors. And back through center, and we'll do 2 more side to side. So going to the right. You want to feel as you go to the right that your left shoulder doesn't brace, and up and over to the other side. So there's a lot to pay attention to here. Quiet hip flexors, shoulders relax, moving only in a range where there's no bracing or tensing. Okay? So then once you've gone both sides evenly there, you can bring your left foot back to the floor. Now, let's keep your hands just on the pelvis and maybe thumbs near the ribs so you can pay attention to this area between the pelvis and the ribs. Relaxing the shoulders. We're just going to raise the right foot up off the floor and notice if there was any tilt or tuck, or if the ribs tensed or braced, or if the ribs poked forward. And then lower the right leg down. And then do that on the left side. So here what we're aiming for is pelvis and rib cage to stay really quiet. And we're just moving through the leg in the pelvis. So the one leg comes up. Nothing ought to change through the ribs and pelvis. Even up into the shoulders are relaxed. Lower the right foot, left side comes up. And again, nothing through the rib cage, pelvis, shoulders, neck. This is we're called marching. And so as you're alternating your feet, one foot lifting and then one foot down on the floor, we're just noticing if there's bracing, tensing, pressing, or trying to flatten your back into the floor. Just easy breathing. We'll do this alternating a few more times. No tension through the back or shoulders. All right, and then go ahead and relax. Bring your arms alongside your hips, feet are hip distance apart, and lift slowly up into bridge as you exhale. Now we're going to stay in this little bit of a bridge pose here, and just press down into your right foot a little more actively. Tune into your shoulders, upper back, neck, and then go ahead and release the press of the right foot and press more into the left foot. So again, we're not pushing down with the arms, we're not bracing in the shoulders, and then opposite, once again, press through the right foot more than the left, and then switch, press into the left foot more than the right. What we're looking for here is a calm and relaxed pelvis and ribs and torso. So as you alternate presses, if you're noticing one side of your pelvis or your rib drop, then you're just pressing too much. Maybe you've come too high, so lower back down a little bit. The aim here is to press through the feet without the pelvis and the rib cage or shoulders tilting or bracing. Just move in a range that feels comfortable here. You'll make greater gains when you're moving in a way that doesn't compensate. Okay? And then press through both feet again equally. Easy breathing, and then lower yourself back to the floor. All right, so we're going to stay on our back. This is a little, as you've not maybe noticed, this is a little bit of a core focus for today. So we're going to take your, if you have a stretchy band, I'm going to use a stretchy band. You can use a belt. It's not quite as ideal, but you can certainly use a yoga belt if that's all you have. So we're going to take the belt around the bottom of the right foot, or the band, whatever you're using here. And then bring the knee bend, the right knee bend, so the knee is in line with your top of your hip here. All right? Now what we're going to do here is start to push through the foot, straightening the leg, and then lowering it down towards the ground a little bit. And then bring the leg back up, bend the knee. So what this is, what we're striving for here, what our goal is to just move the leg purely in the pelvis. Meaning that as you bring your knee in, you're not rocking back on your pelvis and tilting, flattening your lower back, because that would be a movement of your pelvis. We want purely just the leg here. So as you're pressing out, straightening the leg, lowering it down a little bit, making sure the pelvis didn't tilt or rock. Bringing the knee back in, bending the knee, just in line with the hip. So do a couple more here, lowering the leg down. The left foot stays straight, left foot knee stays bent. You're just pressing, reaching through, and bringing the right knee to bend. We'll do one more. So we're teaching the body how to move in isolation, where it's just the leg and not the pelvis, okay? And then we'll take the right foot back to the floor, and let's come to the left leg. So we'll put the strap around your bottom of the left foot. Bring the left knee bent to 90 degrees. And then we'll start to press through the leg, reaching it out and lowering it a little bit towards the floor. The whole time as you're doing this, paying attention to your torso and your pelvis. So nothing ought to change in your pelvis, your rib cage, your shoulders. This is when we're isolating the movement of the leg in the pelvis that we really start to build great core connection. Stay with your breath and just paying attention if there's any tension in the jaw here, or in the neck, or tops of the shoulders. Sometimes the tension is there under our level of awareness. And it's not until we actually pay attention and notice that we can then move in a range where that doesn't happen. And that's when the true shifts start to take place. All right, good. And then go ahead and take the strap away, bring your foot back down to the floor. Now we're going to keep your strap or band handy. We're going to take your folded blanket and just make it thick enough that you can lay on your right hand side with your knees bent and your hips and shoulders in one line here. Okay. Now let's take your top leg, your left leg straight, and we'll actually do this without the band and see how this goes. Now, let's start this again. So keep the legs stacked. Put the left hand on the pelvis. Slowly lift the leg and just straighten the leg without tilting the pelvis in any way, right? So that's kind of curious. If we lift the leg and we extend the leg straight, we just don't want the pelvis to tilt, even in that motion of coming from bent leg to straight leg. And then from there, just start to lift and lower the leg. The pelvis here, the top rim of the pelvis, stays very quiet. There's no tilting or tucking. And we're just moving just the leg here in the pelvis. Okay, we'll do a couple more. Let the foot relax. Now we're going to do what's called hot potato in Pilates. So we're going to tap the toes in front and then tap the toes a little bit in back. Now, you could probably go in a bigger range of motion, but if you do when you're tapping front and back, just pay attention to your pelvis. So you only want to go as far as your pelvis doesn't rock back and forth. actually building more core stability when you move in a range where the pelvis stays quiet. So I'll do a couple more, tapping back and forth. And then go ahead and bend the knee, relax again. Okay, and then we'll roll over onto your left-hand side. So I'm just going to turn this way so that I can still face forward. But you can certainly just roll over onto your other side. And we'll be on the left-hand side now. And we'll just start with your knees bent, hips and shoulders in one line. Hand to the top of the pelvis here and slowly straighten the leg, noticing if your pelvis wants to reach downward as you do that. So we only want to do this from the leg in the hip socket, all right? And then we'll do some slow lift and lower, straight leg. Lifting and lowering, nice and easy. Checking in with your rib cage, your shoulders, your neck and your jaw. Even your eyes sometimes, they want to scrunch or get tense. It's so cool to notice the bracing patterns in your body as you're moving and allowing them to be quiet. Okay, we'll do one more here, leg lift, and then our little hot potato. So tap the toes forward and tap the toes back. Now, if you watch me, I can really go back and forth quite in a big range of motion, but also what's happening is my pelvis is tilting forward and back. So that's taking it away from the core and actually just moving through my lower back. So if I keep this movement in a range where my pelvis stays nice and relaxed, I'm actually getting better core connection. Okay, so one more set forward and back. And then go ahead and bend the knee and let that settle out there. Okay, now we'll press yourself up and away from the floor. All right, and then we're going to take your blanket aside and come onto the front of your body. So come into a prone position on your belly and take your arms alongside your hips. You can have the palms facing the legs and forehead is hovering down away from the floor. Now, just pause a moment here. Take a couple of breaths and feel your feet and legs on the earth. Now feel into your lower back region. Notice if the muscles in your lower back are somewhat relaxed and calm. And then start to lift the head, the shoulders, the arms a little. Maybe the collarbones lift. And just paying attention to what's happening through your lower back now. Coming up only as much as your lower back doesn't overly brace or tense. And then lowering back down. And we'll do that 2 more times. So slowly lift, head, shoulders, arms, paying attention to lower back, noticing any grip there. And if there's a grip, just come out of it a little bit. And then lowering down. Let's do that 1 more time. So when we start to move in a range where the body is comfortable, then that's when things can really start to open up and flourish. Those compensation patterns become smaller and smaller, and we get more strength and stability. Okay, then lower back down. Now, take the arms out to the side. They can be a little lower than the shoulders. And let's try lifting the arms from this place. So arms lift, torso a little bit, head, checking in with lower back. Legs are heavy on the ground. And then lower back down. Okay, we'll do that twice more. Arms lift. You'll feel the shoulder blades engage a little bit here. Back of the neck is long. Breathe and then lower down. And we'll do 1 more. Floating up. If you feel any extra strain in the lower back, just ease out of it. And then lowering back down. Now, make a pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead down onto your hands. Now we're going to move into the legs here, and we're going to lift one leg at a time. So we'll just start with your head relaxed on your hands, breathing into the lower back area again. Right? And then go ahead and float the right leg off the floor. Pause there, left leg is down. And then lower the leg back down. Now this time, take your right hand to your lower glute, right hand to lower right glute here, and raise your leg again. Now we ought to feel the bum engage under the hands. That is important to have happen. Lower the right leg back down. Do that one more time. So we don't want to squeeze the glute and then lift. We rather want the glute to contract as a result of the leg lifting. And lower that side down. Now let's try the left side without your hands first. So put your hands, stack your hands and your forehead on your hands here. And then raise the left leg only. Just pause there, notice what you feel. And then lower the left leg back to the ground. Now we'll take your left hand to your lower glute and raise the leg. Hopefully you're feeling a natural responsive contraction of the left glute as your leg lifted. And lower back down. We'll do that one more time. Lift the leg, feel as the glute responds here. And lower back down. Lovely. All right, now place your hands by the sides of the chest. Press yourself up and away from the floor, however you need to get there, okay? And then we're going to take the hands onto blocks now. So we'll come into a table position on all fours. Place your hands flat on the blocks. So your knees are under your hips. Your hands can be a little forward of the shoulders, or hands can be right under the shoulders, whatever feels most comfortable. Okay, now from here we're just going to walk the knees back a few inches from that place. And then start to shift your hips back and then shift yourself forward. So what I've done here is I've moved my knees back far enough that as I come forward, I'm approaching towards a plank pose. Now what I'd like you to notice, if you can, is just watch me to do this one time so that you can be aware of this for yourself. I'm going to use my pink strap here. You don't have to do this. You can just I'm doing this for demonstration. Is just around my mid back here. So you can see the contrast. What we're aiming for as we go back and forward is there's no change in the spine. So this is no change in the spine. Now if you watch, what we're looking for not to do as I go back is the back rounds, and then as I come forward it might sink, or we might go back okay, and then as we come forward the back might round. So either way, we want to maintain the spine neutral and have the movement come between the shoulder joint and the hips. So we're going back only as far as the spine is neutral, and forward into plank only as far as the spine is neutral. Back and forth. This builds, again, core connection, stability and strength between your hips and your shoulders. All right, so do that a couple more times. And you can stay in the half plank here. Press through the hands. Try not to sink between the shoulder blades here. And then go back again through the hips. Spine stays neutral. Let's do that one more time. Come forward. Press hands into the blocks. Stay with your breath. And then back through the hips and shoulders. And then go ahead and I'll take this away. And we're going to come to sit on your mat, on a bolster. You can sit on a blanket. and whatever you might have there handy. You won't need your blocks anymore. I'm going to take a seat. Now, sitting on the floor requires us to have mobile hips, spine, and shoulders actually. So if you find that if you're sitting on just a blanket and there's a tendency for you to come into a flexion or a rounded spine, then take time to sit up on more height. So you might want to get a bolster if you have one. So I have a bolster here, and what you can actually do is take your bolster and then put the blanket on top of the bolster. Now you might think this is extreme in how much height you have underneath you, but just think about when you're sitting, check it out, if you sit cross-legged, how does your spine feel? Is there more ease in your seat? Is there less rounding? Do you have to fight less to stay tall and lifted? That's a great indicator that you've got enough height underneath your bum. All right, so you can stay with whatever height you find works for you. Now we're going to stretch both legs out in front of you. And then bend the left knee, place the foot on the floor. So the right leg is straight, left knee is bent. I'm going to bring the hands to the heart, thumbs against the breastbone, and rest your fingers underneath your chin gently. Now we'll take a twist towards the left. Okay, and that twist comes through the rib cage. And then take the right hand to the front knee, this bent knee, and the left hand, now if you're on a lot of height, you don't want to lean backward and bring your fingers to the floor, so maybe you just bring your left hand to the side of the bolster here. Gently rotate through your torso. This is called Marichiasana twist. You can turn your head towards the left as well if that feels comfortable. And then come back through center, and we'll switch. Take the left leg straight, bend the right knee, foot on the floor. Now bring your hands to prayer, thumbs at the breastbone, fingers rest under the chin. Rotate towards the right. Left hand comes to the knee, right fingertips to the bolster. Feel the gentle turn on your exhale. Turn your head, if you like, towards the right as well. Take a nice, slow breath out. And then return yourself into center. And then cross the legs, sitting in Sukhasana. Hands to the legs, and let's just do some shoulder rolls now. Rolling the shoulders. Nice and easy, shoulder blades moving on the rib cage. And then we'll switch directions, going the other way. Nice and easy. And then open your palms and link your tip of your index finger to the tip of your thumb in Chin Mudra. Have the back of the hands resting on the legs. You can close your eyes. Turn your attention inward now. Feel the body relaxing in the seat. Feel the parts of the body that make connection to the floor or your props. Feel the verticality of your spine from tail to crown of the head. Allow the breath to flow easy and gentle in and out of your nose. Lips and tongue relaxed. Eyes are soft. And feel the slow, gentle ebb and flow of your breath. staying here as long as you desire, as long as feels good for you. For now, I'll bring hands to prayer, Anjali Mudra, and wish you well. May this practice support you in your everyday living. May it bring you peace and a sense of ease and well-being through your body, mind, and heart. Namaste.